There are plenty of new rides and new technology at the 2014 North American International Auto Show, but there's as much a story for what is not being discussed as for what is being talked about. For more, let's bring in the car coach, Lauren Fix. She joins us from the floor of the car show in Detroit. Lauren's a nationally recognized author and automobile expert. She's also the founder of Automotive Aspects, Inc., an industry consulting firm. Lauren, I know this must be like the Super Bowl for you, so appreciate you taking the time out to join us. In past years, though, green technology was the big excitement. It was huge at the auto show, and that's not the case this year. Why?
Well, you know, I think when you look at the overall sales of EV cars, electric vehicles, of plug-ins, that we all wanted them, but we don't actually want to purchase them. And the total sales have shown not a high take rate for electric vehicles. So because of that, manufacturers have looked at other things that they can do in order to draw attention. And what they're doing is using that hybrid power to go into Porsches and Audis and other vehicles. And what you're seeing is hybrid technology that truly is performance-oriented.
And we're also seeing a comeback of diesel. Diesel had always had a bad reputation in the U.S.
Well, in the past it has. If you think about my generation and older, we thought of diesel as black smoke, cars that were, they were unreliable, high maintenance. That's all gone. Back in the 90s, the federal government changed the fuel, because it's not gasoline, it's fuel when it comes to diesel. They changed it and they made it low carbon. So now it no longer pollutes. But then the cars had to come along with it. It's that chicken and egg theory. So now manufacturers such as Audi, VW, mostly the German manufacturers, all of them except for Mini, in addition to Chevy, which has done the Chevy Cruze TD, have developed diesel vehicles that are 99% cleaner exhaust pipe emissions. So what you're looking at is vehicles that are better fuel economy, that have longer distances between fill-ups. In addition, what you're looking at is vehicles that have better resale values. So according to researchers and the analytics that we're looking at, it looks like about 50% of the fleet, both light-duty trucks and cars, will be 50% of the cars on the road by 2020. And
we still are looking at fuel efficiency. And one thing, big news out of there, is the Ford F-150, the Ford pickup truck, which is the best-selling car in the United States and has been for a very long time, best-selling vehicle. It's right
32
there.
32 years, yeah.
Yeah, and it's right there behind you. And what they've done is that they've brought in a lot of aluminum, which is making the vehicle much lighter.
Right, and you think about aluminum, I think the average consumer thinks, oh, aluminum foil, that doesn't make any sense, it's making it lighter and not safer. But when you look at military spec vehicles, they use a heavy gauge aluminum. So it's lighter than steel, it's stronger than steel, and it actually allows them to get better fuel economy, because now you're improving the fuel economy by about 5 miles to the gallon and lightening the total weight of the F-Series truck between 500 and 700 pounds. So that's your 5 miles to the gallon. So it makes it strong, capable, and of course there's different engines and drive lines as always, but they redesigned the truck on top of that, and that is a huge, huge story here at the Detroit Auto Show.
But doesn't it raise issues about just how tough it'll be and how much it can haul? And oftentimes when you get into a luxury car, one of the things that makes you feel like it's a luxury car is that it feels weightier than cheaper cars.
Right, and some of it is just the way the steering is, the way the steering input is, and the way the handling is. In this case, it's actually a lighter vehicle, and a lot of new vehicles, you're looking at like luxury vehicles like Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Lincoln, they're all using a lot of aluminum already. You just don't know it. What also makes it is more recyclable, so it makes it a greener choice than using some of the steel that's there. So I think it is very wise of Ford to come up with this. They're working with Alcoa in order to create a top quality aluminum that is military grade, so you're going to have a really great truck. I'm looking forward to test driving it, which we'll get to do very soon.
Ironically though, the truck of the year was not the Ford, it's the competitor, Chevy Silverado.
Right now, this vehicle wouldn't be eligible for the North American Car and Truck of the Year until next year, because it has been released to the public in 2014. So what was released during 2013 was the Car and Truck of the Year, were both GM products. The Silverado, which is a beautiful truck, has been completely redesigned and revamped, and they really did a nice job. It really did it was time for a change. And then also the Corvette, which is a beautiful piece. I mean, who wouldn't want them? They're selling way above sticker. I mean, everybody wants one. Of course, they released the Z06 and the C7R today, so that was pretty exciting as well. If you're a performance car person.
Right, but there's a lot of performance cars they're making a comeback, and in fact, the Corvette won Car of the Year.
Absolutely, and so now GM won both, and so Mary Barra was very excited. She's the new CEO. As a matter of fact, the press was going crazy all trying to interview her. This is part of the change that she's seeing, is they said no more crappy cars, exciting cars that people want, and I'll tell you what, the Silverado and the Corvette, those are cars that people are going to want.
Right, it is the unveiling of the new female CEO, so I know that is a big deal. What else are you seeing? How about this whole marriage of technology and the car and the issues that that's raising?
Well, yeah, you're seeing a lot of connectivity and mobility. I was at the Consumer Electronics Show last week. 9 out of 10 of the top manufacturers were there, and they were showcasing Android platforms as well as relationships with AT&T and Verizon, also with a chip company called NVIDIA. And NVIDIA does all the multimedia interface that you'll see in such as Audi and some of the other manufacturers, but they produce for everybody. They're totally not one brand or another. But these chips are so small. They used to be a huge bank of chips. Now they're small. It brings high-speed Wi-Fi to your car. People want to take their smartphones into their cars. They want to take their iPads. They want to use their laptops on the road. Their kids want to do that. And so in order to meet the need and the demand of consumers saying, I want this connectivity, this mobility in my car, this is where you're seeing the future and the marriage of consumer electronics and automotive. And I think that's the future. You're going to see a lot more automotive launches and releases, including lighting design and new technologies. You'll be seeing that at Consumer Electronics as well as here at the auto shows.
So you'll basically be driving a computer. I know that will raise issues of privacy too.
Absolutely. Now you think about your average car has got about 24 computers and about 100 microprocessors. So the average consumer has no idea of that unless you've got a problem and a mechanic needs to replace it. But when you're thinking about the safety issues, people are like, oh boy, you know, I've already got a problem with somebody hacked my mail. How are they going to separate this? Well, these systems are actually separate. So if you think about how they're almost built like a sandwich, initially we had anti-lock brakes and the integration of traction control and stability control. Well, that's a separate system from the navigation system. That's a separate system from the airbags. It's a separate system from the seat belts. So each system has its own, and each manufacturer is also investing heavily in placing firewalls to protect consumers and their cars, because we've all seen the cars that have been hacked on YouTube. But in reality, to do that, you'd really have to disassemble a car, and they're putting these firewalls in place for not just our protection, your protection, and other people on the road.
So it's a brave new world, and the future is right there in Detroit.
Yes.
Learn, fix. It's great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week there at the show. And consider this may be over, but the conversation continues on our website, aljazeera.com/consider this, or on our Facebook or Google Plus pages. You can also find us on Twitter at AJ Consider This. We'll see you next time.